So I am just outside of Herps Alive, which is a reptile rescue and rehabilitation center that takes care of unwanted, neglected, and abused reptiles and amphibians. So what we're here to do today is we're actually going to tour the facility, as well as we're going to gain some insight on what they're all about. So stay tuned and I will tell you just that. My name is Nick Pulaski. Ever since I was young, I've had two passions, wildlife and filmmaking. My goal is to combine those two passions to make wildlife content. My passion for wildlife and my collection of exotic species is constantly growing. Come follow along as I pursue my goals of educating, inspiring, exploring, and conserving wildlife, all while having fun, seeing the beauty of our natural world. So I'm with Keith Gisser of Herps Alive Foundation. Keith, thank you for having me here.
Thanks, no problem.
Thank you so much. So Keith, tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into this and how'd you make this amazing place?
I've been a herpetology educator since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
Doing programs at museums and nature centers, birthday parties, and now I mostly do college programs. And I've always taken in unwanted animals. You know, everybody does. Almost everybody who keeps reptiles does that to some extent or another. And when the economy got bad, 2009, 2010, I found myself taking in so many animals that it wasn't sustainable. I was spending $10,000 to $15,000 out of pocket to maintain animals. And I will never say that they don't have value, but they did have commercial value, educational value. You don't need 17 normal ball pythons to do an educational program.
Right.
So I started looking into ways to form a nonprofit to spin off the rescue mission. And it took us a few years to get that all together, but we met with accountants and attorneys and all the people you need to talk to, and we founded the Herps Alive Foundation as a nonprofit reptile rescue in 2013. We got our IRS certification in 2014 as a 501c3, as a public charity.
Right.
And originally we were going to be a foster-based organization, like so many reptile rescues are. In the fall of 2013, we got called into Struthers, Ohio, near Youngstown, to do the seizure of over 100 reptiles in an apartment. And suddenly I went from having 100 rescues to having 200 rescues. That story made national news, so another 40 animals came in by the end of the year. So heading into 2014, I had 250 extra animals in my house.
Wow.
In addition to my
house?
in addition to my educational animals.
Okay.
So we're pushing 300 animals in the house, and we began looking for a space. We found the space that we're in February. We negotiated a lease. We got in here to start doing renovations in April of 2014. It took us 8 months to get everything done, and we did not actually open the rescue until December 24th, Christmas Eve of 2014. So we just experienced our 5th anniversary.
Wow, that's awesome.
A couple days ago.
Yeah, but I mean, that's crazy. I mean, so is it just you that runs this?
We're an all-volunteer organization. We actually have nearly 100 volunteers. Some of them work outside, only doing outreach programs at pet stores and at the various reptile expos and so on. Some of them just help us with paperwork or bookkeeping, things like that. Of course, we have a board of trustees, as is required for a charity. But we have about 50 people who work here on a regular basis doing the animal maintenance, doing the animal care. We're actually the only reptile rescue in the country that works under what's called the Humane Society model. In other words, public hours, 5 days a week in our case, where you can come in, see the available adoptable animals, look around. We also have educational displays. We're actually considered a museum as well here in Northeast Ohio.
Really?
Yeah. We're members of the Northeast Ohio Inter-Museum Council, puts us on the same footing as the Cleveland Museum of Natural History and so on. But we have that model where you don't have to worry about making an appointment or waiting for an open house. You're looking for a ball python, you can come in, you can see what we have available during those public hours. No appointment necessary.
What do you normally have people bring in? Do you have more so people bring in like animals that are neglected, or what do you more so see?
More often than not, unfortunately, we're getting animals in that are just unwanted pets. Not so much neglected. We bought this for our son and our daughter. They lost interest. One of the things I think that in general reptile owners don't think about, they tend to think in dog and cat mode, that animal's going to live 10 to 15 years. You know, and they kind of figure that out accordingly. You know, a ball python can easily live 20 years. A leopard gecko can go 15 to 20 years. Blue-tongued skink the same way. And I think you buy that pet, and again, reptiles are great pets, but you buy that snake for your 8-year-old not thinking, well, in 10 years he's going to be going to college. We actually have we got more surrenders in August. Individual surrenders than any other month. Kids are leaving for school and they can't get rid of their animals.
Anyone boarding and everything like
that. But we do work on a lot of law enforcement cases. We work with local humane societies. In fact, as far away as Columbus, Ohio, even into Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Wow. Okay. So where do you normally get your intakes from? Just more so the Northeast Ohio area?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we've done rescues from 14 states. So we've taken in turtles from Illinois, turtles from Wisconsin, a snake from Minnesota, believe it or not. We do a lot of work in Indiana because there are no reptile rescues in the state of Indiana.
And that's more so through volunteers that will just like bring them to the sanctuary.
Well, yeah, there's a number of different ways that works. So I'm on the road as an educator back and forth. I'll give you a perfect example. The first time that we went to the NARBC, the Tinley Park Reptile Show,
Tinley is there.
We did not go as exhibitors. We just went to check it out and see what it was going to be all about.
Sure.
On the way back, we made 2 stops in Indiana picking up animals. One was a leopard tortoise, one was a mata turtle.
Okay.
So as routing becomes available, we'll pick those animals up. We have some volunteers who do nothing but transport as well.
Interesting.
So we have, for instance, we have one lady who commutes to Columbus twice a month. And every time she's going down there, she'll call, hey, you need anything brought up from Columbus? And so we can work those kinds of things out. We do get the abuse and neglect cases. Because of the way the law works, typically in those situations, those animals have to go through humane investigation first.
Oh, I see.
And there's licensed humane officers. In Cleveland, it's the Cleveland Animal Protective League. In Lake County, you've got Lake Humane, who does the same thing. Then once those animals are finished with the humane investigation, and they've generally in that case gotten some of their basic veterinary care while that investigation goes on, oftentimes then the animals are transferred to us to finalize their rehab.
I see. Okay, gotcha. So you also, besides just running the sanctuary themselves, you said you're on the road a lot, and you're doing educational programs.
That's
so
correct.
what does that entail?
Well, most of what we do now is actually an interactive display program. It's a hands-on display program. We do our programs primarily at colleges, but we do them for community festivals. We do library programs as well, of course. And that's the way that I pay my bills. Everybody here is a volunteer. I do technically get paid. It's a legal bookkeeping thing. I get paid $12 a year, $1 a month.
Yeah.
So next week, December 31st, the trustees will write a $12 check for me. I'll cash that into the door, go buy a cheap bottle of champagne, and that'll be New Year's Eve.
There you go, right? There you go, I love it. Okay, so more so just running off the adoptions, but like gaining the exposure to like young people. Like I just did a video last week, if you guys check that out, making sure like it is the holiday season after all, like people are trying to like get gifts for people and like they think pets are gifts and everything like that, so kind of going along that line, it's kind of like doing your research, getting more in depth about, like you said, reptiles do live a lot longer than like a dog or a cat per se. So it is something that is crucial to have these kind of programs in place, just so people like you and don't have to strain themselves getting in like 300 different like intakes and stuff like that, and not as many outtakes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the thing is, we tell everybody who comes in here, we want to educate. We don't care whether you buy from a pet store, whether you buy at an expo or from a breeder, or whether you adopt from us. Obviously, we want you to adopt from us. But what we want to make sure is that you have all the information that you need so that we don't end up with your animal 2 years from now or 10 years from now.
Right.
So the educational part is very, very important. That's where that tie into the museums comes in, where if you walk through, you'll see we have a Turtles of Ohio exhibit. We have other exhibits talking about turtles in the law, because some of the legal things with aquatic turtles. Aquatic turtles are our #1 intake.
I was going to say,
an animal that lives 30 to 40 years. You buy, a lot of people are still buying them illegally under 4 inches. And
they don't realize or anything like that.
And they don't know they're going to get to 7 or 8 inches. They don't realize the amount of lighting and filtration and so on and so forth. It's an expensive proposition for that $10 turtle or $20 turtle. So a lot of people don't realize that. So that's probably our largest intake. We want to make sure that before that animal goes home, that people know what's going on. Like I said, we don't, even if they're not going to adopt from us, we may not have, as a rescue, we may not have the animal that they're looking for. And I've been surprised at the number of more unusual or higher end exotics that we've gotten in. Obviously, we get tons of red-eared sliders, tons of yellow belly sliders, tons of normal ball pythons, tons of bearded dragons and leopard geckos. But we've had 0 bearded dragons, the scaleless bearded dragons. We've had Leachianus geckos, we've had chewies, we've had Chihuahua geckos, a number of multi-gene morph balls that have come in. We've got a couple of sunglow boas here right now. So we do get some of the more unusual animals. One of the challenges for us actually has been figuring out how to set adoption fees to discourage flippers, although we do have an interview process. If you come in and want to adopt from us, there's a written application, we review that, and then we interview you, and
just
you have
like
an interaction. And you have an interaction with the animal to make sure that we know you're comfortable handling them properly and so on. But if you want to scam somebody, you're going to scam somebody. If you're good at what you do. So we need to set our adoption fees in a way that that animal's not going to end up on Craigslist the next day.
Same with like dogs and cats too. Like people will sometimes like flip the dogs and cats as well too.
Exactly.
So it's one of those processes.
And we try very hard to avoid that. We try very hard to screen people well, but sometimes
at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do, unfortunately. So it's just kind of being mindful of who you get from, and like just being a responsible owner and stuff like that. Because not only does it like affect like us who are like taking care of these animals and these rescues and stuff like that, it doesn't affect just them. It also affects like the hobby too, you know, because like if these things like, do you get any cases that are like people are like releasing these or anything?
Far too many. We had in a 3-week period in October 3 boa constrictors loose in Northeast Ohio.
Really?
We had a big 7-footer out in Brecksville, Ohio. And that was the one for anybody who's in Northeast Ohio. That made every news station. Because of course when they hear that 911 call, every news station wants to get that. Fortunately, the animal control officer in Brecksville belongs to a local organization that is actually trained here on snake handling. So we work with those folks to help them. Although one of them said, okay, if I ever get a big snake call, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm calling you.
Right.
But yeah, we show them the proper way to handle these larger animals and at least get them restrained until we can get there.
Good.
So that boa. The next week we got Ohio Division of Wildlife game protector came in with a boa that was found out in Lorain County, and then a week after that I'm coming back from, I want to say Columbus, it might have been Kentucky, I'm not sure, and we got a call from a woman who found a boa constrictor was found in a garage out in Amherst, Ohio, Lorain County. Somebody saw it on Facebook, and through a chain of events the animal eventually was able to come to us. But the point is, there's no reason for people to turn these animals loose. We're available.
100%.
Not only are we available, but we'll come and get the animal if it's not an emergency. If you can hold on to it for a day or two. We're not available 24/7.
Sure.
That's an eventual goal if we can get enough volunteers and so on.
And it's not just a Northeast Ohio thing, as he was saying.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
and the thing is, you can call any pet store in the area. You can call any nature center in the area, any exotic vet in the area. If you call the Cleveland Zoo, the Akron Zoo, the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, they're all going to refer you to us. So with one phone call, you can find us. Oh, and there's this thing called the internet. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
If you search Ohio Reptile Rescue, we're going to be one of the first 2 results that comes up.
You see?
So if you have that animal that you can't keep, call us, email us, find us, don't turn it loose. This year we've had Russian tortoises, sulcata tortoises, boa constrictors, ball pythons, and green iguanas.
Right.
In the past we have had bearded dragons loose, Savannah monitors loose. Yeah. A friend of mine who actually, she's up in Canada, but they found an African side neck in a lake up there.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a problem all over, and what happens then is you get cities and other jurisdictions who start passing stricter and stricter laws, and then the people who are responsible get punished because of the people who are being irresponsible.
Right, yeah. It's a whole hassle that, I mean, again, just it all comes full circle to just being responsible. Not even saying that it's one of you guys or anything like that, but like if you know somebody that maybe you just want to suggest, like, hey, maybe this is maybe a better option for you guys if they're considering different options or a change of lifestyle, and it's not always just like a neglect thing or something like that. It's sometimes a change of lifestyle too, you know?
Now, one of the things that bothers me a little bit is when you see these memes on the internet, you wouldn't get rid of your child, why would you get rid of your pet?
Right.
Well, sometimes it's an either-or decision. If you've only got the money to feed one or the other, you feed your child, and to me...
Or if health goes downhill or something like that,
and to me, it makes more sense to take care of, rehome the animal while it's still healthy, while it can still get into another proper home.
Rather than abandoning it or anything like that.
Rather than to wait for it, and because you can't afford to feed them and care for them properly, the animal gets sick or starts to waste away. Right.
Like that,
And so to me, it's more responsible, I'm not saying to give the animal up quickly, but to realistically assess your situation.
Yeah.
And things do happen. We have a number of animals that have come to us as a result of health situation, where somebody's you get diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder and the doctor says you've got to get rid of your animal. I mean, so it's unfortunate, but those are all things that we have to deal with.
Do you get like iguanas species or
lots of iguanas, not a ton of them lately.
Good.
But we do get them in, and we've gotten lots of them in over the years. It tends to run kind of an ebb and flow type thing.
Yeah.
So we'll get a lot of iguanas for a while,
Yeah.
and then we'll get them moderately tamed down, and they're hard animals to find appropriate adopters for. Not that you don't have experienced keepers, but the caging issue is the biggest
that's
thing.
the big thing.
You know, that baby iguana you get at the pet store, people will keep it in a 55-gallon aquarium. Not that I'm wild about glass aquariums for iguanas, but as they get bigger and bigger, there's just nothing.
It's not
Even some of the big custom cages like division cages and so on.
You need something
even they
bigger,
are not big enough.
like that, yeah.
So the biggest problem for us is capacity on the big iguanas.
Not everyone's willing to
right now we have
room or anything like that,
we have room, which does not mean call me with your iguana surrenders immediately.
Right.
but we are in a position to take them right now. Usually, the nice thing about an animal like that is that typically the person who's looking to rehome the animal is not in an emergency situation, so they can wait until we have space available.
Sure. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really impressive too. I mean, just touring around this facility, like you said, like people that like get turtles, especially, like they don't. A lot of people will buy these animals for, like you said, $10 or something like that, and they don't necessarily. They're like, wow, this is like a cheap, easy pet and everything like that. But they don't realize it's not the pet that's more so the problem for like financial reasons. It's more so what they need and everything like that. Correct. So like filtration and everything like that, and then they don't get that, so then they kind of get turned off of the species because it smells and stuff like that. But it's impressive walking in here because everything like you don't have like a smell of like that or anything like that.
We work really hard, and again, on a typical day, we're going to have 6 to 8 volunteers in here today trying to do cleaning. We have 2 volunteers who basically do nothing but aquatic turtle maintenance, and you've seen in the main part of the building the number of turtles that we have on display.
Yeah.
I haven't taken you back to the garage where I have 9 more 150-gallon tubs full of aquatic turtles.
Yeah.
We just got a small grant to put in 4 more tubs, so between now and the end of January, we're going to be adding 600 gallons of water, which will allow us to take in about another 40 aquatic turtles.
That's amazing.
But we're running out of space. I mean, there's just so many of them out there. We're the only rescue that will take aquatic turtles in the 5 or 6 state area.
So in terms of like the facility or anything like that, is there any in terms of like what are you trying to do?
In a perfect world,
Bob
Bob Barker writes me a $2 million check and we start from scratch, and his foundation has done things like that.
Right.
But realistically, I mean, we have approached some big name donors. We have not quite made it through on some of the grant processes to the big numbers, but we're doing kind of a grassroots building fund effort. We're renting the facility that we're in right now.
Sure.
We hope to buy the building sometime in 2020. We have about half of a down payment raised.
Okay.
So we need to still raise some more money. Once we do that, there are some expansion things that we can do. We have a full second floor, which we can't really use because it's not to code right now.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to put the money into bringing that second floor up to code if I have to move in a year,
right?
Because we're talking $15,000 to $20,000 to spend.
Right.
But if we could buy the building, then we would go ahead and do that work, and that would give us all kinds of space.
Sure.
It would help us. It would help our medical staff remarkably. We're in a tiny quarantine space, which I haven't even shown you. I'll show you that when we're done.
Sure.
But we have our vets and our vet techs are literally, climbing on each other. To work in our quarantine space. Every animal that comes in gets quarantined.
So you have on-site veterinarians.
Right. We've gone. Unfortunately, some of our vets have left town for other practices, but we do have a vet who comes in every week, and then we have a vet tech who's in on the day. Most of the day she's not in.
Okay.
And then we have a couple of our managers who have veterinary training who can do basic. Once she's prescribed work, they can administer antibiotics and things of that nature.
Okay.
So every animal that comes in gets a vet check before it goes out.
Sure.
In the case of most of our lizards and tortoises, they're going to get wormed twice. So if we're going to treat for internal parasites, we do that as a matter of course. We don't do fecals exams. We just assume that they've got parasites, and we treat them just like you give your dog or your cat.
Sure,
you treat them every year. In the case of snakes, they've got to eat frozen thawed prey twice before we'll send them out. So there's certain procedures we have to follow. So some of these animals, especially some of these ball pythons, and you know how they can be eating this time of year. They may be in quarantine for 2 or 3, 4 months before we get them switched over. As a result, our quarantine space gets really, really jammed up.
Yeah.
And it gets very jammed up. It's tight space, and we don't have a lot of capacity. So we could use one of our second floor rooms as our new quarantine space. That would give our docs a chance to open up and use the space more appropriately.
All right, Keith, so where are we right now?
This is our quarantine room, and no, this is not a weird lens or anything. This is really how narrow it is.
Wow.
It's about 5 foot wide, maybe 6 foot wide, and 25 foot deep. And this is where animals come, new animals. We've got iguanas, we've got leopard geckos, various types of snakes that are in here. Turtles, we get a lot of turtles. We're dealing with shell rot issues and things of that nature. Each one isolated in a small aquarium so we can control them. But again, you can see how tight this space is. Working, and imagine 2 people trying to work in this space.
No kidding.
It would be nearly impossible. So like I say, this is one of our big goals, is to be able to expand this space out. And again, if we can raise the funds to take control of the building, that's what we would do.
No, that's huge. So yeah, guys, like I said, make sure you do check them out. Make sure you do consider a donation of anything. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like a monetary donation. Anything will help, Keith. So like anything like supply-wise, anything like that will be something that's of beneficial to them.
And the other thing you can do that I forgot to mention earlier, you can always make us your Amazon Smile beneficiary. If you order from Amazon a lot, they have a charity program. It doesn't cost you anything, but if you list us as your beneficiary, a portion of every purchase you make on Amazon comes to us each month.
That's really awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing this off. This is really crazy, of a space and everything like that. Rather warm, but just imagine, like, having bigger animals in here and stuff like that, or like even you said, like ball pythons, they can be in quarantine for like 4 months. Right. So it's just a crazy thing to think about, having that as a situation.
That's the other thing is you get a big snake. I got a boa constrictor in. I don't have room
if you get a Burmese or anything like that, or
I can't really quarantine them properly now.
No, that's crazy.
So those are that's one of the things. We also then would have plans for an expansion of space. One of the things that I'd like to do here in Ohio, there's very strict laws regarding what they call dangerous wild animals. So crocodilians primarily. Sure. We do have a dwarf caiman here, but I'm sure we're going to get more because they're not appropriate pets and too many people are buying them.
No kidding.
So you hear dwarf, you think small. They still can get 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah.
And so I'm quite sure in the coming years, as many as these guys are being sold, that we're going to get more of them. But regardless, I'm licensed by the state for alligators. Okay. I have alligators at my house.
Right.
They are not here because again, I don't want to spend $10,000 on caging if we're going to have to move. But the state has more or less said that they will allow us to transfer the license to the foundation, at which point we would then be able to take in more gators. I have a space in mind to renovate, put in a boardwalk type exhibit with museum quality caging.
I was going to say, like, bring it back to like the museum quality.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a lot of plans. but they're expensive plans.
Right, yeah.
And until we own until we have full-time control of the facility, there's not really much that we can do except just do the best we can and stack cages and so on.
Sure. But in terms of like how they can help you, people can help you and everything like that. And like that's what this whole thing is for. Is like gaining exposure for such great people like Keith here that are trying to do good for the reptile community as well as for the reptiles themselves. Because at the end of the day, it is for the animals and their well-being and stuff like that too. So how can we help you?
Well, obviously they can donate. If they can write that $2 million check like Bob Barker
Right.
can, that'd be great. But realistically, every dollar helps.
Sure.
We have donation jars here if you want to come in and visit, if you're watching from the Northeast Ohio area. We do have a little bit of merchandise. We have travel mugs. We have car magnets. We have Christmas tree ornaments this year. Christmas just over.
That's awesome.
We've got wristbands, so you can pick one of those up. You can certain animals can be sponsored. So we have some animals here who are not adoptable, either due to law or due to age or due to condition. Those animals can be sponsored by an individual or by a company.
Sure.
You can sponsor even one of our rooms. You can sponsor our quarantine room, for instance.
Right.
So that gets your company or you as an individual some exposure for business purposes. Donations may be, because with the change of the tax law, I have to say may be tax deductible, but we are a 501c3 charity, so any kind of donation like that is great. The other thing is we can always use donations of equipment and supplies, because those are dollars we don't have to spend.
Right.
So if you have an old aquarium, an old light sitting around that you're not using, we can use that kind of stuff as well. Some of it we resell. Okay. Some of it we use for store use though.
Sure.
And again, I've got, when we talk about turtles, I've got pieces and parts of 50 canister filters in the back.
Sure.
And one of our turtle guys is great at cannibalizing for parts.
So it doesn't even have to be like up to a good
Right. So I mean, we save, every big canister filter we don't have to buy saves us $150.
You can just strip it.
Right, exactly. So we can always use that kind of equipment. We can use the support if you're in the area and have time to volunteer. But even if you're not in the area, there's a number of volunteer opportunities. We have a woman in Indiana who transports for us.
Because you guys do shows too and stuff like that.
She drives from Fort Wayne to Pennsylvania 3 or 4 times a year, and she'll always check with me and say, hey, do you need anything transported? And she has no reptile experience at all.
Sure.
But she's transported tortoises for us, she's transported big boa constrictors, and she always checks in with us and say, hey,
awesome.
do you need anything moved? Eventually, I'd love to have a travel network that covers the entire Midwest,
Sure.
where we know that within a week or 2 weeks, we can get any animal from anywhere to us if it's necessary.
That's awesome, though. But yeah, like I said, you're also at shows too. So
Yes.
like multiple different states and everything like that. And you also go to like NARBC,
Right.
Tinley Park, and everything like that. We've seen you guys there. But yeah, if you guys are in those areas and stuff like that, feel free to stop by the booth, get some education, everything like that. Maybe if you're in the possible capacity, adopt too. But like it's more so based on like the exposure and stuff like that. At the end of the day, even if you're in the local like Northeast Ohio area, just even stopping in, just kind of seeing this place. I mean, it's an incredible place, and it would help you guys kind of get a better experience of like what they have to go through and stuff like that, and how big of a responsibility it is before you even get that animal to begin with. So now you guys said that you had like star animals or
Ambassador
animals. Yeah, you said you had ambassador animals.
Sure.
Now, do you have one that you like wanted to like bring out that?
Sure. Yeah, we can have Romeo, our Argentine Tegu.
So who's this chubby little baby here?
This is Romeo. Romeo is an Argentine Tegu, about 7.5, almost 8 years old now.
Okay.
Romeo came to us from a gentleman, comes in one day and says, can you guys take a large Argentine Tegu? I said, yeah, we have room. Why are you giving up? He said, well, my wife's pregnant. She's due to have a baby. And she basically gave me an ultimatum. She said it was either her and the baby or the lizard. So I thought about it for a few days. And I decided to give up the lizard. That's exactly the way that he said it to us. He was actually named Lizard when he got here.
Oh, okay.
So we decided to have a contest to name him.
Okay.
And the first day that I posted, one of our regulars came in and said, you've got to name him Romeo. I'm like, well, why? I mean, that's a cool name, but why? Romeo Montegu. So now, of course, he's got a girlfriend named Juliet.
I love it.
And any Argentine Tegu that comes in that's unnamed ends up getting character names from Shakespeare. So,
I love it.
Yeah, but that's how he became Romeo.
That's really funny, though. So, like you said, ambassador animals, you have a whole bunch of them. What does Romeo more so do?
Romeo's job is to look cool and be held by people.
There you go.
All right, and if you go
Very docile.
Yeah, and if you go to the Herps Alive Facebook page, there's actually an album from last week's Cleveland Reptile show where about 20 different people holding him. Just pictures of people holding Romeo. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. He's really docile. He's super tame, and he just loves being around people. We're actually doing a new program that we've never done before. We've never tried this. It's going to be interesting. We're coming up at a local library. We're going to be doing something called Reading with Reptiles. Originally, we were going to call it Lizards for Literacy, but they decided to go with Reading with Reptiles.
Less wordy.
Yeah. And so we're taking Romeo. We're taking my personal Savannah Monitor, Corlett. Nice. Gobbles, our bearded dragon, and my blue-tongued skink Digger. And the kids get 15 minutes to read to the lizards. They can
really cool.
sit with them on their lap. They can hold them in one hand and read with the other. They can just sit with them in the cage. And There's
not only is it a fun time, but it's a great way for kids to gain exposure to like these species.
And they don't have to read reptile books. They can read a storybook or whatever they want to read.
Right.
Just a chance for them to be exposed to the animals and to help them overcome the fear. You know, we try very hard whenever a family comes in, if we can get an animal out for the kids to pet or hold, just to give them that experience. You can watch all the nature shows you want. You know, life has changed. We didn't have Steve Irwin when I was growing up. We didn't have cable channel. We didn't have cable when I was growing up. So now you've got all these different TV networks that are doing all these great wildlife shows.
Awesome.
And some not so great wildlife shows, but regardless. And so kids get exposed to so much more.
Sure.
You know, I was gobbling stuff up in books trying to learn about these animals. Now it's there at the touch of a finger.
Right.
But you can lecture all you want about an animal's heartbeat. To hold the animal and feel that heart beating is really a lot different.
Right.
And so giving kids the opportunity to touch these animals, we try very hard to make that a possibility.
And some people, like I said, like it doesn't matter if you're trying to get an animal or not. It's like some people are in a very thankful position where like they are able to be exposed to these daily because they do have these exotic animals as pets. But like they're not for everyone, for one, as well as two. I mean, you may just not have that luxury to be able to do that or anything like that. So like wherever you are because of state laws or anything like that. I mean, there's so many different places and different people like Keith here who do all these reptile educational programs as well as different animal programs that other people do as well. If they're great and they're great sources and everything like that, they're great exposure for young kids. They're great exposure for anyone, to be honest with you. So I mean, it's incredible work that you do with these guys like here, and I mean the literacy thing and everything like that. That's really commendable.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's just we're always looking for new ways to expose people to reptiles, and this is just one way to do it. You know, you can get up and do that lecture, walk around with one animal at a time, like you see so many people do. But like I say, when this was proposed to us, I said that sounds like a kind of interesting idea. Let's give it a shot. So we'll see how it goes.
That's awesome. Can I hold Romeo?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is just like a baby. Just a big baby. But I mean, such cool animals, such a great disposition, everything like that. Love their tongue, love their eyes and everything like that too. Just really super chill. Love these claws right here too. Like just really cool animals and everything.
And he's pretty good at keeping his down, but we do clip them when necessary.
Yeah. But really awesome stuff. And like you said too, I mean, yeah, you grew up like reading the books and everything like that, and then everything has kind of changed over time. We're about to be in 2020 right now, and I mean, like you said, we can find you like on the internet easily. You're just a phone call away or anything like that. It doesn't have to be in, like I said, the Northeast Ohio area for you guys to do some reach out for Herps Alive or for any kind of like sanctuary whatsoever or anything like that. There are resources out there if you guys do need help or any kind of situation or anything like that for the matter. As well as, I mean, if you do want to donate to Keith and Herps Alive, where would be the best place?
Easiest thing to do right now is to go to our Facebook page, and there's a donate button right there.
Really? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I mean, obviously they can write a check, they can get the address, but you know, that's the best way to go. I just want to say one more thing about resources. We're connected with a lot of the other rescue organizations. So like I say, even if you're not in Northeast Ohio, if you're in the Chicago area, we work with a great rescue in that area called Friends of Scales.
Yeah.
There's two very good rescues, one in Central PA, one in Eastern PA that we work with.
Okay.
So we're associated with it. So even if you're not here, we should be able to steer you in the right direction to a responsible, quality reptile rescue group. Unfortunately, a lot of reptile rescuers work independently without networking a whole lot, and it's hard to be able to vet them. There's no national association that accredits what we do the way that a lot of the other organizations do. So obviously do your research, but we'd be happy to refer people. If we're not the right match for you, because of distance or whatever else, we can certainly refer somebody.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so.
You know, it's great just having someone that can be there as like a source. You know what I mean? That's just a really powerful tool and everything like that.
Education is key. That's
yeah, knowledge is power, everything like that. So it's really great stuff that you guys are doing. Like I said, facility is absolutely incredible. You guys definitely need to check this out. If you guys are in the Northeast Ohio area, highly recommend it. Definitely a stop to make. It is like a museum, like you said. It is accredited like that. So really cool stuff. Thank you so much, Keith. And like he said, just make sure you check him out on his Facebook. I will leave links down below to all this stuff. So if you guys do want to donate, or if you just want to check out the facility just in general and everything like that and see what they're all about, make sure you check them out there. Thank you again, Keith.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you again, Romeo, right here, this cute little guy. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you could do me a couple favors, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. As well as if you could hit the notification bell so you know when I upload these amazing videos like this. You were just running all over the place now, huh? You just want to go that way.
He wants to hit the notification bell.
He wants to go hit that notification bell.
He wants to subscribe.
So if you guys could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. As well as check out my social media. I'll be posting some awesome things right there too. And until next time, we will see you guys soon.